Malta, basis, hub and logistics for something bigger. The island of Malta was only a temporary basis, hub and logistics for something much bigger, and of near-continental scale, that would unfold for thousands of years, and had some more clear but still mysterious end during the late Bronze Age collapse. Nevertheless, it could be key in rewriting human history. As Michael Button alleges in the title of one of his videos. Population turnover events. A series of continental-scale population turnover events, starting, possibly once again, around the Younger-Dryas, all the way up to the 3 Bronze Age collapses, which were detected by ancient DNA research. David-Reich, 2021, as well as many other David-Reich publications before and after. Geneticist David-Reich. One day Michael Button should try to involve geneticist David-Reich. We are quite confident Michael Button would do this, even, better than all others before him, and would rewrite human history. As he prophetically announces in the title of his video. Most probably he will need to involve some strategically chosen genetics, including ancestral-markers, after learning to avoid the to them related traps. David-Reich has laid out quite some crumbles, which Michael is capable of transforming into wrecking balls, of the by consensus desperately defended, already now improbable human history. Which are the words of geneticist David-Reich. Malta was temporarily and strategic. Malta did not last, because it was not sustainable, and those people, who were behind it and built it, knew that, and also Michael Button mentions the unsustainability of Malta in his video. He mentions insufficient capacity and/or opportunity for agriculture amongst others. Malta was a kind of a very well-protected high citadel, and would host most of all, a series of large military headquarters and learning centers, that often are called temples, for the several warlords and their military top that Malta's objective would involve. So first the builders would have to come in, and years, and/or hundreds of years later, the warlords and their large quantity of warriors would come in, just as in Stonehenge, UK. David-Reich, YouTube 2021, and other presentations, publications, and interviews. Since their objectives would involve quite some navigation on seas but also on lands, it also were training centers for navigation, including and dominantly by the stars and constellations, just as Göbekli Tepe was. What you see on the Göbekli Tepe pillars are mostly constellations, and their locations amongst the surrounding stars and constellations, or any other references of importance. Most of the animals are constellations that were given animal names, this already long before in the Americas. The Amazon Amerindians and other Native Americans still know and possibly still use these constellations, sometimes using the same animals as those that were written on the Göbekli Tepe pillars. Some of the animals on the pillars present typical Amazon or American animal traits. Orion and Sirius are for navigation by the stars, very important reference points. Sirius is a very bright star visible in the night sky. Its heliacal rising is the first time it becomes visible in the east, this just before sunrise. When ancients registered in a way that it seems that their ancestors and/or gods come from Sirius, they in fact mean they came from the Americas, or Atlantis if you wish, in the far east of their extended Austronesian-Expansion, but also from the sometimes so-called Atlantis, in the west behind the gates of Gibraltar, according to Plato, in the far west of the in-time late Atlantic migrations, that include the European Atlantic facades, and its extensions, like for instance all the way to Malta, which will become a hub in further expansions, which will lead to the continental-scale population turnover events, that run at least between the Younger-Dryas and the latest population turnover event of around 4,500 years ago, that will define modern humans in Europe and in Western Eurasia. Moai statues in Rapa-Nui. That is also what you see on the Moai statues in Rapa-Nui or Easter Island, but these are from another, probably more early era. The word Moai is statue in Rapa-Nui. This small provisory list of enigmatic and ancient places is to also show you one of the oldest routes and expansions in human history, namely the Austronesian-Expansion, with one of its more important waves or extensions, around 50,000 to 80,000 years ago. And that in its extended form is called the extended Austronesian-Expansion, which runs from the Americas, across the Pacific Ocean also involving Easter Island, Hawaii, and Polynesia, Oceania, all the way to Africa and beyond. It is not a coincidence that around that time the out-of-Africa migration was supposed by consensus.